Hello you all, today we will talk about the former NFL player who hired someone to try and kill his child. Ray Carruth was born January 20, 1974, in Sacramento, California. In the spring of 1997, the Carolina Panthers were the newfound darlings of the NFL world. In only their second season of competition, they had gone 12-4, won the NFC West, and gone all the way to the NFC Championship game after stunning the defending Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys in the divisional round of the playoffs. Entering year 3, the Panthers were close to being a complete team, boasting one of the league's top defenses and an offense led by promising young quarterback Kerry Collins. However, the Panthers had needs at the wide receiver position. Veteran receiver Mike Carrier was approaching the end of his career, and Willie Green left the Panthers after the '96 season to finish his career with the Denver Broncos. In 1996, the Panthers had drafted a promising young receiver in Muhsin Muhammad, and decided to use the number 27 pick in the draft on another. Enter Ray Carruth, who had been a first-team All-American with the Colorado Buffaloes. Quickly gaining a reputation for his speed, Carruth validated his first-round billing in his rookie season, catching 44 passes for 545 yards and 4 touchdowns. Carruth earned a place on the NFL's All-Rookie team for 1997, joining future Hall of Famers like Seattle Seahawks left tackle Walter Jones, Kansas City Chiefs tight end Tony Gonzalez, and Miami Dolphins defensive end Jason Taylor. During a pool party in June of 1998, Carruth met Cherisse Adams, a Charlotte area woman working in real estate as well as an exotic dancer. Seeing each other at intervals during the summer of 1998, both were in relationships with other people and fell out of touch until that November, when Carruth attended a birthday party for a teammate that was being held at the strip club at which Adams worked. Writing from prison, Carruth stated that although he and Adams saw each other, the relationship between the two was based on sex, and Adams was not under the impression that Carruth had intentions of marrying her. Lust was the tie that bound us, not like or love, and neither one of us was ever guilty of believing anything contrary to this, wrote Carruth. We randomly hooked up a handful of times and never made it about anything more than that. Carruth estimated that he and Adams had consensual sex approximately 5 times, and that before Adams became pregnant with his child, they had never dated, hung out at each other's homes, or talk over the phone for an extended period of time. Nor was Adams ever a guest of his at Panthers games. Aside from the nights that we hooked up, we spent 0 time together, wrote Carruth. Adams, however, was determined to have children. She had long fancied becoming a mother, and it had weighed heavily on her conscience that she had aborted a baby she was pregnant with from another man. According to friends of Adams, she wanted to have a family with Carruth. But for Carruth, this was a real issue. Carruth had fathered a child with his high school sweetheart in Sacramento, and was paying child support to her. With that, other issues with Carruth's finances, and his slew of injuries in mind, Carruth had asked if Adams would abort the child. However, she refused. For what it's worth, Carruth disputes that he had requested Adams abort the child. This, in turn, led to Carruth seeking to resort to more extreme methods. Though Carruth was in good company following his rookie year, he endured a lost season in 1998 after breaking his foot in the season opener. Injuries would become a recurring theme for Carruth from that point on, though he did catch 14 passes for 200 yards in the first several games of the 1999 season. In 1999, Carruth became acquainted with Van Brett Watkins, a security guard at a Charlotte strip club who began doing odd jobs for Carruth after a formal introduction through a mutual friend. A native of New York, Watkins was a hardened criminal. He had served time in prison for various crimes, and has stated that he had killed 4 people prior to meeting Carruth, all hired hits. After about 3 weeks of being acquainted, Carruth met with Watkins and posed a question to him. He wanted Watkins to beat up Adams and make her abort her baby, and asked how much it would cost for him to do that. Watkins had a dark response. "I don't beat up a girl," said Watkins. "I kill people." When Carruth pressed further, the two agreed to a deal. Carruth would pay Watkins $3,000 up front for the hit, and then $3,000 after the deed was done. Although he was hesitant over the hit, Watkins stated that he did not like the idea of harming or killing a woman. He nevertheless pressed on. As Watkins began stalking Adams on and off in the months leading up to the murder, Carruth began bouncing various ideas off of Watkins for the hit, several of which were shot down. One of the ideas proposed was that Adams be killed while Carruth was in Spartanburg, South Carolina for Panthers training camp, which would give Carruth a perfect alibi. But nothing materialized, and in November of 1999, and with Adams 8 months pregnant, Carruth was growing more and more impatient. According to court testimony, everything came together rather fast. Carruth had arranged to take Adams on a date to see a movie in South Charlotte, and invited both Watkins and Michael Kennedy, a local drug dealer that Carruth had met at a car accessory shop, to his house just prior to the date. Kennedy was accompanied by his best friend Stanley Abraham, who was also involved in drug dealing. In conversation with Kennedy, Carruth asked for a hoop tie, or a car that does not stand out, and Kennedy's Nissan Maxima would play the part. Watkins did not bring a gun, but Kennedy stated that he had a friend who could sell one to him. After acquiring a .38 revolver, Kennedy drove both Watkins and Abraham around for several hours while Carruth and Adams went on their date, which ended just before midnight. According to court testimony, Carruth told Adams that he wanted to spend the night at her house, and they began driving there in separate vehicles. Carruth in front, and Adams behind, with Kennedy trailing Adams. As the three cars traveled along Ray Road in Charlotte, they came to a section where the road dipped just prior to McAndrew Drive. It was there that the deed was carried out. As Carruth stopped his car in front of Adams, Kennedy pulled his car alongside Adams, boxing her in. At that point, Watkins opened fire, shooting Adams a total of 4 times. As Carruth drove away, Watkins had an opportunity to exit Kennedy's vehicle to make sure that Adams was dead, but Kennedy hurriedly fled the scene after Watkins was finished. For a moment, Watkins entertained the idea of killing both Kennedy and Abraham as to not leave any witnesses. However, he had already disposed of the rest of his bullets, which rendered eliminating the two too difficult to be practical. Adams, however, was still alive. Bleeding profusely, Adams was able to use her cell phone, which had been given to her as a gift by Carruth, to dial 911. As the three cars traveled along Ray Road in Charlotte, they came to a section where the road dipped just prior to McAndrew Drive. It was there that the deed was carried out. As Carruth stopped his car in front of Adams, Kennedy pulled his car alongside Adams, boxing her in. At that point, Watkins opened fire, shooting Adams a total of 4 times. As Carruth drove away, Watkins had an opportunity to exit Kennedy's vehicle to make sure that Adams was dead, but Kennedy hurriedly fled the scene after Watkins was finished. For a moment, Watkins entertained the idea of killing both Kennedy and Abraham as to not leave any witnesses. However, he had already disposed of the rest of his bullets, which rendered eliminating the two too difficult to be practical. Adams, however, was still alive. Bleeding profusely, Adams was able to use her cell phone, which had been given to her as a gift by Carruth, to dial 911.911. 911 Baker. Do you need police, fire, or medic? Adams. Police, I've been shot. I've been shot. Adams informed the operator that she was at Wessex Square, had been shot while driving, and was 8 months pregnant. Driving her car to the driveway of a nearby home, Adams then directly implicated Carruth after telling operators that she had been shot in the back and neck. Medic. Okay, how did this happen? Adams. I was following my baby's daddy, Ray Carruth, the football player. Medic. So, you think he did it? Adams. He was in the car in front of me and he slowed down and somebody pulled up besides me and did this. Medic. And then, where'd he go? Adams. He just left. I think he did it. I don't know what to think. Sounding her horn in distress, Adams ended up in the front yard of a man named Farrell Blaylock, who had been studying his Bible when the incident occurred. Emergency services responded to Adams in 12 minutes after she had dialed 911. Adams was transported to Carolina's medical center, where her baby was delivered via emergency cesarean section at 1:42 a.m., approximately 80 minutes after Adams was shot. The initial prognosis for both had been that Adams would probably survive the shooting, but her baby would likely die. On December 14, 1999, at approximately 12:43 p.m., Cherice Adams died at the age of 24 after spending nearly a month in a coma. Carruth convinced Wendy Cole, an acquaintance of Carruth who owned a hair salon in the area and was planning to attend cosmetology school in Carruth's native California, to take him with her and hide in the trunk going westward to Interstate 40. Cole would then go on give Carruth away to the police. By the time Carruth was extradited back to North Carolina, he was no longer a member of the Panthers. That will do it all for today's video. Thank you all.